Hey all, JTC here, and welcome back to another user-submitted gameplay review. Today's gameplay is submitted by Apollo Linear, so thank you for your submission. And as usual, before we jump straight into the gameplay review, I have his build pulled up that he used, and we're going to go over this, starting with the items before moving down to the talents. Regarding weapons and jewelry, I don't really have too much to say about it. This is all pretty normal stuff you would see, although I have two things to comment on this. Barrage is actually a good idea for Swiftbow, since Swiftbow does struggle against armor, and Barrage does kind of help offset that a little bit, so that is actually a very smart call. And then I wanted to comment on the Hand of Shalia on the necklace. That is a very odd choice, I must say, especially since you don't have a synergy with healing at all. I could see you using Hand of Shalia if you had like a Sister of the Thorn on the team, but you're playing Elf so you can't have that, or you're playing Waystalker so you can't have that, or if you were doing some kind of other healing synergy build, which you're not doing. So Hand of Shalia is kind of a very odd option. I would normally expect Boon or, Barskin or Healer's Touch, one of those three, rather than Hand of Shalia. Really, Hand of Shalia doesn't have too much of a use today anymore. It used to have a use back in the day, back in a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago, when the game first came out, because Hand of Shalia, people discovered that Hand of Shalia allowed you to clear wounds when you healed someone else with medical supplies. But now, whether it's a bug or a feature, you can now clear your own wounds by healing someone else with med supplies without Hand of Shalia, even though it doesn't heal you. So there's really no reason to run Hand of Shalia anymore. And then regarding talents, I'm going to comment on a couple of these. Level 5, Talent Dryad's Thirst. This is a pretty normal one. Assassin's pretty normal. Azurai Focus is really the only option in this row, so this is pretty normal. I only really wanted to comment on 10, 15, and 30. I'll start down at 30, Piercing Shot. Piercing Shot is a very good option, I would actually say. This build would benefit both from Piercing Shot and Kernus's Reward, but Piercing Shot, because you don't really have any true sniping capabilities with Swiftbow, but Piercing Shot actually takes care of this. And in the gameplay, you are actually not bad at hitting headshots with it, so Piercing Shot is a good option if you want some long-range sniping capabilities with Swiftbow. With Bloodshot, Bloodshot does not benefit from Swiftbow as well as you might want it to. Another thing to say is that I never really saw you making use out of Bloodshot. You didn't really kill an enemy and then quickly switch to your Swiftbow and then get the benefit from Bloodshot. You just kind of seemingly ignored the perk. And like I said originally, Bloodshot doesn't really benefit from Swiftbow anyway. When you're running Swiftbow, really your only option is going to be Serrated Shots, since that's also going to give you some extra damage against armor. And as far as I'm aware, the bleed stacks from each arrow that you hit with them, so it'll also boost your damage even more against armored. And with Swiftbow, you need as much damage versus armored and tank your opponents as you can get. So yeah. And then lastly, Spirit Arrows. Spirit Arrows is actually the worst talent in this row by far and is never worth taking. I actually did the math on this. I have that written down over here. So I'm probably going to put this up on the screen so you guys can read it before I talk about it. I also need the notes because, as you people know, I'm bad at math. But just when you look at the math of Spirit Arrows, it's definitely not worth it. With base ult, the cooldown is 80 seconds. And if you put on Spirit Arrows, every tick reduces it by 5%, which is about 4 seconds. Now, remember that her passive regenerates health every 10 seconds, so you're getting a 4-second cooldown every 10 seconds. A 4-second cooldown is the equivalent of killing like 3 or 4 clan rats or slave rats. 4 seconds is not a lot, and it gets a little worse when you put on Azurai Focus with it, since 20% of 80 is about 64 seconds, so the cooldown turns into 64 seconds, and then with Spirit Arrows on top of that, that gets rounded down to about 3 seconds from 3.2, because I don't think the game calculates decimals, so it just rounds down to 3. So as it stands with the math, Spirit Arrows is just not worth it, because you can get so much more benefit just from killing a couple of enemies than by taking Spirit Arrows. So realistically, your only options are Isha's Embrace and Rejuvenating Locus. If you're quick playing, you don't want to take Rejuvenating Locus in case you run into a Zealot, so really your only option here is Isha's Embrace. Now, Isha's Embrace actually isn't bad, it's pretty good. It helps you stay alive, so yeah.
Took the wind right out of his bellows.
So here I would say, because of your build and your weapon choice, be more careful with your arrow usage. You don't have Kernus's reward, so you don't have any reliable way to get back your ammo, since you can't just ult and get free ammo. And Into the Nest is also a very, very notorious map for just straight up not spawning ammo for long periods of time, so you have to be a lot more careful with your ammo usage. You do have your ult, which can be potentially infinite ranged, so you should be focusing on using that rather than your swift bow. And also, don't use your swift bow against storm vermin if you don't have to, because it's pretty much just a waste. You have sword and daggers, so storm vermin are not going to be a problem for you to deal with in the first place, so you really have no need to shoot storm vermin with swift bow anyway. You're going to need to save the ammo for actual armored specials. So here you do get separated from your team a little bit. They drop down and you stay up to snipe, which isn't necessarily a bad thing since it does give you an angle on the bridge that they're coming from, but you do have to be extra careful, because all it's going to take is just a single disabler or a single surprise overhead from behind to do you in. And the worst part is you're going to die a slow death instead of a fast death. Because the Skaven are coming from the bridge, they are currently not coming from behind you, which means there is nothing to kill you fast, so you're going to basically just sit there and bleed out, which is going to take you a lot longer to respawn, and therefore is going to leave your team a lot longer alone and down a player. So this separation is a lot worse than the previous separation because you are nowhere near your team and you will not be able to help them if anything bad happens. Sadly, Vermintide is not a game that supports ranged sniping like you would as a sniper in another video game. The game very much expects you to be with your team and basically snipe from right next to them or very slightly behind them rather than from this far away. And that's also not to mention that you are attempting to use swift bow as a sniping weapon when swift bow is not designed to be a sniping weapon. It's designed to be a close to medium quarters weapon, and by sitting here trying to snipe with it, you're just doing less damage since it's affected by more damage fall off. So here you walk up to where the Battle Wizard is dangling from the ledge, and you opt to fight the Horde instead of save her. Now, in your defense, what I'm pretty sure happened was you saw the Zealot run behind you, and you thought, oh, the Zealot's going to get the Battle Wizard up, so I'm going to fight the Horde and defend them. But what probably happened was the Zealot thought the exact same thing, but thought you were going to get Sienna, and because of that miscommunication and that confusion, she ended up dying. Now, in situations like this, it's better for both of you to go for the res, and for one of you to do kind of like a little awkward jig as you try to get the res, realize someone's rezzing her, and then instead turn around and go fight the Horde, rather than nobody getting it and causing her to die. Because, let's face it, this death was completely unavoidable, although completely accidental as well. So you have a tendency to spam your swift bow into hordes, which is a very normal tendency to have, don't get me wrong, but you should actually consider instead spamming your piercing shot into hordes, because if you think about it, piercing shot is actually a very, very good horde clear weapon, because the requirement for getting that 100% refund isn't anything more than just simply getting a singular headshot. So if you spam your ult into a horde and you hit just a single headshot on a trash rat or a trash mob of any kind, you instantly get that refund, and it just allows you to just spam your ult and basically get free horde clear. And remember, Into the Nest is pretty ammo scarce, and you're not running Kernus's reward, so you don't have a way to get ammo back, so you're going to be struggling with ammo, especially since it's swift bow, so anything to help you save more ammo in the long run is good. So it may seem like a good idea to like sit and camp a corner and wait for a special that you hear to round it so you can kill it, but all this does is cause you to get separated from your group and put you and the group more in danger. If this was PvP, this would be a completely different story, but since this is PvE, the specials and the AI and their AI are very, very, very predictable, and you don't have to do anything special to try to outplay them. You can just walk with your group, ignore them. They're going to respawn in a very obvious place, and it's going to allow you to get a very easy kill on them since you know exactly what they're going to do.
Give a good aim.
Shout out to that Barden v. Scarrick duel, first of all. Better than any of the pay-per-view boxing matches that Jake Paul did. But for this challenge, you definitely could do it that way. It is the very safe option. The only problem is that it's slow. And the longer you take to do things, the more chances for mistakes you have, and the more chance you have to die, and blah, 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 blah. So an actual better way to do this would be to hurt Scarrick, or would be to fight him normally until he goes into his defensive mode, which is where he pulls out his spear, and then he goes to a corner and he slams it on the ground and calls in for reinforcements, which causes waves to spawn. And that will actually cause a bunch of Skaven to spawn, which will allow you to get the challenge a lot faster. And realistically, all you would do is like kill the storm vermin so they wouldn't be a problem, and then kite the trash Skaven around until Scarrick killed them all. But if you actually wanted to be big brain about it, what you could do is during that summoning wave, Scarrick is going to be stuck in that corner, and if you get near him, he's going to do that spear swipe, which is his highest damage attack, and I think in Legend insta-kills any trash Skaven that it touches. So what you could do is you could just have your entire team walk over to Scarrick, summon all of the Skaven horde in that corner, and just let him like kill them all in one foul swoop. Yeah, it'll hurt your team, it'll do some damage, but it'll allow you to get that challenge done so much faster. So yeah, that's about all I had to say for this gameplay review. Your horde fighting skills are pretty damn good, so I don't really feel the need to comment on them at all. You know how to fight hordes, so that's good on you. And yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe for more Vermintide content in the future. And if you're interested in having your own gameplay submitted for review, make sure to join the Discord down below and check the appropriate channel. Peace, y'all.